live. Welcome once again to the How Long to Beat podcast. I, as always, am Rick, joined as always by Alex and Paula. And it's going to be a very Rick-centric episode, I will warn you right now, because Alex has been traveling and Paula's been studying the slackers. We're going to talk about beatens, retireds, and playings, but it's mostly going to be me. I'll warn you in advance. So after that, we're going to round out what Alex has lovingly dubbed the handheld trilogy by talking about the newly released, or soon to be released rather, Playdate. We'll maybe take a question, although I have to be honest, I don't know that we'll have time for that. And we'll finish off either way with the sensation that is
How long to beat the game. Sounded like kind of panicked there, Paula.
I am sorry.
That's okay.
Do we have to play? And so that we've got a little bit of a breakup in the me, I'm going to kick off my beatens because Paula's got none and Alex has only got a couple. Oh, you've got a retirement as well. Why don't you kick us off then, actually? Because then we can bounce around.
Sure, yeah, I've got a small retirement, but yeah, I'm not going to say much about it. But yeah, so like for what I've beaten, I beat that Yu-Gi-Oh! The Eternal Duelist Soul on the Game Boy Advance, which was a great time. I mean, look, there's not like much to it, right? Like it's just you play card games, you make your deck, you have fun. And it's funny because I tried out, I was going to play, there's like this, there's another one, which it might have been like the Stairway to the Sacred Duelist something, which is like another, there's like 7 or 8 Game Boy Advance Yu-Gi-Oh! It's insane. But
I think there's like 10.
Yeah, probably. It's wild how many there are. And I do think this might have been the one like that was perfect for me, because even when I got into that second one, which is kind of neat because it's like you go to Battle City, and so it's like the second season of the anime, and you're, battling people throughout Battle City and you're doing that whole arc. But even in that one, I noticed that it had like a lot of new cards that I was just unfamiliar with, because really I was only familiar up to really Fusion. Like even ritual cards, I was like, I don't think I ever really played with these because there weren't many of them, but those are in the Eternal Duelist Soul. And so I really liked that one, because the thing is, like on the Game Boy Advance, the deck editor is functional, but it's not great. Right. So like it can obviously be a little bit clunky because there's lots of cards. And so you're going to have to kind of like open them up to remind yourself, unless you're super familiar with Yu-Gi-Oh cards. You might be like, wait, what is the effect of this one? So like, I think the simpler the game is, the better it probably is on the GBA. Like if you're like super obsessed with Yu-Gi-Oh, you just play the one that's on like the PS4 or like the Switch. But yeah, if you have like the nostalgia and for Yu-Gi-Oh in its kind of earliest incarnation, then this was super fun. Like I beat all of the different players. It was excellent while sitting on a plane, watching a freaking movie. I was just like, all right, let's just bash through all these freaking all these duelists as I go to town. So that was really fun. Anyone who does play it though, my biggest recommendation for you is that before you start a duel, so like when you're, doing the rock, paper, scissors thing, hold down the R button until the duel starts and it'll speed the duel up. And that is a lifesaver, because goddamn, the duels are slow if you don't do that. There's nothing worse than slow UI for it. But anyway, I like, honest to God, I just really enjoyed this game, and I love card games, and I like Yu-Gi-Oh! So that's all there is to that one.
And there are 9 other GBA games if you do want to go. I fact checked Paula using a little site called howlongtobeat.com.
Oh, there you go. So there's 9.
Heard of it.
9 total.
There's 10 total.
Oh, there is 10 total. Okay.
Yeah. So 9 others, bar the one that you've actually played, including it was getting games as late as 2006.
Yeah. They're very popular and they sell well. And I mean, there's also like one of them is like Dungeon Dice Monsters, I think. So it's like from that like 4 episode arc, they made a whole game on it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Because Yu-Gi-Oh originally was about like all the little games in the manga.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, literally, if you both say so.
yeah, it's a whole thing. But I mean, here's what I'll say. Like, I think they're all competent enough. It's just that I feel consensus in general is that this one, like Eternal Duelist Soul, is kind of the best of them, just in the sense that it's so focused and kind of before things go a little nuts. Anyway, that's that on that. I also beat Professor Layton and the Unwound Future. I had put that off for a long time and finally got back to it. And this game, I really started to like it more as it went along. I mean, I think when I was sort of turned off a little bit when I started, because I was like, ugh, it's kind of like more of the same. But like as the story went on, I was like, oh, this is kind of fun. And the puzzles got better, I think. But even then, I have to say, because, spoiler, I've been playing another game in this series. This third one really, like, I just don't go further than this, Like, it's like, because God, it just really, even in this one, it was getting repetitive, and some of the puzzles were just getting so obtuse, like they weren't always that much fun. Like it was less like, ooh, what's this clever puzzle, and more like, all right, what bullshit gimmick is this one about, and like, and they were obviously, they weren't related at all to the story most of the time. So yeah, I like, it's funny because Professor Layton, I like Layton and Luke and like the characters more than I like the games. So like,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Yeah. So I'll talk about this more again when it comes to playing, because I think it's a really great world and idea, and like there's some lovely stuff in there. It's just a shame that there's like, I think there's an expectation that they have to have so many goddamn puzzles in these games. And so it's just spread really goddamn thin, Like by the end of it, you're just like, ugh. But I don't know. I still think this trilogy is worth playing, especially if you enjoy puzzles. But I definitely looked up a lot of the puzzles, and not even necessarily the solutions, but I was just like, I don't want to use my hint coins. Just show me all the hints online. And I was like, great, got it. And went in to do it, because sometimes
And that's the irony of the hint coins, because you never use them, or you just hoard them for no purpose. I was exactly the same.
Oh, I know, right? Because you're like,
But
I don't know, maybe
why?
I'll need them. What?
Why wouldn't you use the hint coins? They give you like more than enough for all the puzzles, I think.
No, you don't have
the gamer in me. I just want to hoard them. It's like I might need them later, and also like it feels like a completionist thing where it's like I've never used one, even though you've Googled the solutions.
Yeah.
The game doesn't know that.
But also, like, it's actually easier to just Google them because it shows you all the hints in a row. So, like, you know what I mean? Like, I was like, I could do the hints, but I actually had to press so many freaking buttons, and I was like, you know what? If I just hit this, I can look at the hint while solving it. You know what I mean? So I actually found that easier. So anyway, I didn't have to do it tons, but I was noticing that in this game more than in others. And maybe it was just because I was like, I'm done with this game and I want to just get to the end. But I don't know. Anyway, that's Professor Layton, the Unwound Future, or whatever the hell it's called. Lost Future, I think, in other places.
I forget. It's called
Lost
something
Future.
different here. Yeah.
Yeah. I kind of like Lost Future, but Unwound makes sense. Times, clocks and shit. Anyway, fun game. Rick, why don't you regale us with your all the shit you
So I've been picking up the slack. I've beaten 5 games since we last recorded. The first of which is probably the most interesting. So this is a game called Brukel PC, and the conceit is that you are the grandson of a woman who lived on Brukel Farm, going back after the fact to take photos and log things about the farm for your grandmother who lived there. I think it's in Belgium, if I remember correctly, during Nazi occupation in World War II. It tries to go for, or at least it gave me the very same vibes as a graphic novel called Mouse, which is about these anthropomorphic Jewish mice. And the son is a writer, and it interjects scenes of him living his life post all the stuff that happened, but also documenting his father's story of his experiences through that time and how he survived one of the camps and all the other stuff around it. Now, the interesting thing with Mouse is, and I'm not saying anything that anyone doesn't already know, because this thing is critically acclaimed. It's not some obscure gem that I've just dug up. It is very grounded, but softened ever so slightly by the fact that it's like farmyard animals doing all the things that they're doing. Brukel tries to soften it with supernatural elements. It's effectively a walking sim. You take a few photos. There's not really much interactivity. You're mainly sort of walking around, triggering points and moving through. The problem is it doesn't really commit. Mouse commits and it works. Brukel sort of tries to have its cake and eat it too. So it's like you're this real person exploring the real farm, but you're hallucinating all these things that actually happened to the grandmother. And then you wake up and there's no farm anywhere. And it was like all in your imagination anyway. It's just very weird. And there's moments where it clicks and there are things that bleed through it that are worthwhile. I'm almost on the verge of recommending it if it sounds interesting, because it's cheap and it's very short, but it doesn't really succeed, and it's quite a shame. Sorry, Alex, you muted.
Gosh dang it. I was just saying cheap and short are my 2 favorite words.
There's a joke in that somewhere.
Oh, absolutely.
But it's interesting, not in an entirely good way. But the other thing that I do want to sort of end on a positive note is there is something about hearing about people who lived in the occupied countries but weren't necessarily the persecuted group. I think it's a really interesting angle that probably is a little bit underexplored in all that kind of stuff. So there's some value there. I just wish they'd done a little bit of a better job of it. But it was certainly interesting. My next completion is a game that I can wholeheartedly recommend to everyone and anyone. Everyone should play this. It's a game called The Swapper. So I played it on Vita. This is like the 5th time I've played
I was about
this
to
game.
say, yeah, you played this many times, haven't you?
I make a point basically every sort of 12 to 18 months. By the time enough time's passed that I've forgotten the puzzles, I'll go back and I'll play it again. This game has it all. So the story is quite thin, but it hits a lot of sort of philosophical points and it's quite thought-provoking. So the idea is that you are a scavenger. You've landed on this planet, and they were conducting experiments on these sentient rock life form things, and they've developed the device called the Swapper, which allows you to create clones and switch between them. And so there's all these themes that are explored about what is the soul, what is consciousness, what do life and death mean while you're switching between different bodies? Is it really still you? And most of it is done with minimal sort of cutscening and storying. There's the odd text log. The rocks sort of speak to you. I don't want to sort of say too much about it, but it's really well done. The art is very strong as well. So everything is handmade or claymation, and it's all sort of been put together. Now, my first playthrough was on PC, and it looks great on PC. On Vita, because the screen's closer to your face, you can see some more of the details. So little bits where like a thumbprint's been left in it, and it has a real charm to it. It all looks excellent, even if you didn't know that it was all handmade. And the puzzles are really well pitched. The only thing I can think in recent memory that was comparable, and as someone who gets bored quite quickly of puzzle platformers, is Inside, which also did an excellent job of pitching that curve really well. And giving you those aha moments naturally without needing to spend hint coins or Google it or anything like that. And like Inside, it's very tight. Like it's a 3 to 5 hour campaign, maybe 4.5, 5 the first time you play it. I've got it pretty down pat now, so I even sort of forgetting how the puzzles work, I hit 3-ish hours every time. It's on everything. I can't recommend it highly enough. It's almost as good as 13 Sentinels, if you can believe it.
That is some high praise coming from Rick.
High praise indeed.
Yeah, I remember playing this
then-
one on the Vita a while back. Like when I first got a Vita back in the day, and I liked it a lot. It was fun.
It's really good. It's really good.
Yeah,
I
there's
don't know
not
where
much
else I was going with that. So once I'd finished that on Vita, I stayed on Vita and played the final MotorStorm RC expansion, which is the Carnival one. It's more MotorStorm RC. I feel like people skim over the MotorStorm franchise in general. Actually, I think is a little bit sort of underrepresented, forgotten, for want of a better term, a hidden gem. And it's the kind of series that I would actually love to see like a HD remaster treatment. Because there's the 3 main games. There's Arctic Edge on PSP, which is possibly the best of the bunch. And then there's RC, which is different, but it's really good in its own right. And the 2 expansions, I'm quite glad I played them separately because they scratched a perfect itch. Like it's an hour's-ish's worth of content. It's all, really well done. It's very bite-sized, pick up, put downy. It's just right sort of as a palate cleanser type thing. And if you have a Vita bucking around, if you have a PS3, because it's on there as well, it's really, really good. The next one, and it's a shame that Minoria didn't win the Game of the Month nomination because I think I'm going to play that very soon off the back of this, was the 4th game in the Momodora series. It's called Reverie Under the Moonlight. This is a relatively straightforward Metroidvania, round about the 4 or 5 hour mark to complete. In fact, no, I think it's less than that. Let me double check my time. This is very unprofessional of me. It's really, really good. So it doesn't do anything super unique or mind-blowing. The art is lovely. It's excellent pixel art. The music's fantastic as well. And it's one of those where it's a solo dev as well. The guy's name's Ardein, Rdein. And this is the 4th of 5 of these games that he's made. And you can see the progression of his skill and the development of the game in each one. Right back to the first, they sort of maintain the core, but this is the first true Metroidvania of them. It's the first one with a big enough map and enough sort of item picking up and moving between that it really sort of justifies that moniker. It's just incredibly tight. It doesn't really put a foot wrong. It's tightly strung. The combat all feels really good. The bosses provide a healthy challenge without sort of being too over the top. There's a bit of a story, but it's not in your face if you want to skip it and just sort of blast the content game-wise, which I think is always a nice balance to strike if you can. Yeah, so I finished it 4 hours and 8 minutes. So
that's
I'd
pretty
say
quick.
sort of 4 to 5 hours because I blasted through it relatively fast. It's another one that's cheap, relatively short for what it is. And even in the Metroidvania genre where there's other stuff bouncing around, I actually feel confident in saying that this is still one that's worth seeking out and experiencing, even if you haven't played all the greats. I think it stands up well enough on its own to justify taking a look at and trying.
Pretty sure it's on Game Pass too. I think I had it on my Xbox actually.
Then what are you doing, guy? Get it
I
played.
don't know. It might be on there. It may be gone now. I don't know. I know Toho Luna Nights because I think those two get thrown together in like the same area as like two Metroidvanias that are like, you know, not incredible, but they're like fun little experiences to go through.
So the Toho series is its own thing. I mean, they're aesthetically, there's definitely
that's
a similarity.
what I mean. Yeah, they get that. They kind of get like compared because they're like, hey, look, two like below the radar. You know what I mean? Like that kind of Metroidvania.
With kind of anime characters, and it's relatively bare bones. Yeah. I can see the comparison. It's I would say this is close to incredible though. I think it's really genuinely well done. The execution makes all the difference.
Nice.
And it just feels remarkably tight through and through. And then the last one, which I beat last night, and this is one that I believe that you've played, Alex, is Titanfall 2.
Played it recently, actually, yeah.
There you go. Great campaign. And you can tell that they took the criticism from the first game of lacking a campaign very, very seriously into heart. Because this one, they've put a lot of effort into the campaign.
Yeah.
There's like a time switching mechanic that's unique to one level, and then they just don't touch it ever again.
I really wish that was in more because it was awesome.
It was very clever and it was very well done, yeah. And I was surprised at how well the parkour mechanics were incorporated because it's a first-person shooter. So while it has those mechanics, they are somewhat secondary, but they feel very, very fluid. Probably erring a little bit too much on the side of forgiveness for exactly that reason. But the point is the momentum and the sense of fun was there, and it enhanced the FPS gameplay, which is good because there actually weren't many weapons to fiddle around with through the campaign. But that's discounting the Titans, which have their own arsenal and are incredibly fun to play as. Yeah. I had a real good time noodling around with the Titans.
It was just really well paced, like, and because I agree with you, like with the weapons, it was sort of nice because like sometimes in, like for instance, in a game like Halo, it's like, yeah, I want to be playing with a bunch of different weapons. It's sort of fun. And this one, I was kind of like, I know basically whatever I pick up, it's going to work for me. You know what I mean? Like I was like, there really wasn't any weapon that I was like, oh, it's terrible. I'm like, nah, they're all pretty basic, but it's just like that momentum and like the Titans and everything. I'm like, oh, that's where this shit rocks.
And it mixes it up enough that the weapons aren't really, it doesn't really detract.
Yeah.
And the other thing that's worth saying, and I'm certainly not the first person to say this, you can always judge the quality of an FPS by how good its shotguns feel. And the shotguns in Titanfall 2, wonderful.
Yeah.
Especially the Mastiff. It's like a widespread one, and it hits hard. I didn't use it very much because it's an absolute bitch to reload. So I ended up defaulting to the EVA, which is like the 10-round mag shotgun. But all the guns feel good. All the gameplay feels good. It's a shame that they nixed it by a little bit of gaming history, releasing it right between Battlefield, which is EA's own property as well, and Call of Duty.
Yeah, it's
where
fucking
it was
EA,
destined to be choked out and die.
Yeah, at least Apex Legends has basically, because Apex Legends is the Titanfall universe.
Yes, because right near the end there's an Apex thing, and I didn't have a clue what that had anything to do with. But I was like, "Is that so? That is the connection."
Yeah, no, Apex Legends is genuinely in the Titanfall universe. So Apex Legends has basically kept Titanfall alive, and like the resurgence recently of like people playing the first Titanfall multiplayer, people are playing Titanfall 2 multiplayer. Like Apex Legends is huge. So like I think it's a good time to play this game because I'm pretty sure they're going to have a chance to make something else, whether they make like a Titanfall sequel or if it's in the, here's what I'm thinking is probably going to happen. They're going to make an Apex Legends game that's not a battle royale, but it'll probably have some kind of like Titanfall something. You know what I mean? Yeah, right? Like it'll connect everything together. So you'll still get your Titanfall shit, but I don't know if you'll see the Titanfall like branding really come back because I think Apex Legends is just, it's fucking like it's gangbusters, like that thing is just doing
what
so
they
well.
could maybe do, because Activision have sort of blazed the trail for how you set this up. So if you play either Modern Warfare or Cold War right now, it's basically a unified launcher. So Warzone, Cold War, Modern Warfare, they're all tied in, and the weapons from the campaigns of both feed into Warzone. but they also have their own sort of isolated multiplayer components. So what I could potentially see happening is whether it's Apex Infinite or Titanfall 3 or however they make it work. If you unify that into the you unify that into the launcher, and then you can have your Titanfall and you can have your Titanfall multiplayer siloed off, but you can make that symbiotic with Apex, and then you're cross-pollinating, you're giving people more opportunities to spend money, for better or worse. It makes business sense, as well as it'd be really sick to actually pilot a Titan again.
Right, I know. Here's the thing: like, I've played Apex once for a little bit. I think the battle royale shooters are very fun. I don't really play multiplayers because it takes too long to get good at them again. I don't got time for that. You see how many games we play every week. But man, if you could pilot a Titan in Apex, that'd be fucking dope. I mean, my God. That game would go. That'd be awesome, because they're super fucking fun in multiplayer too. Like, when those things come down, you're just like, oh shit, here we go. Nice. I don't know, Paula, have you played any of these? I don't think you have. FPS aren't exactly your forte, right? Yeah.
Yeah, especially when you started talking about Titanfall, like there was like a monkey with like what's the name? Like plates like making sounds in my brain, because I was like, I have no expertise of this topic.
The little cymbal monkey, clang, clang, clang.
Yeah, that one.
That's all right. We'll get to something. We'll get to more of your expertise later. I think most of the games I've been playing are your expertise, actually. So we'll get to talk about Fire Emblem later. Well, why don't we move on to retirements then, which is mostly
I really want to hear about yours, Alex.
This isn't something crazy, actually. You know how sometimes retirements are more like I'll come back to you later? That's what's happening. So Pokemon Prism, I just realized, I saw it sitting in my playing, and I was like, I haven't touched Pokemon Prism in like 2 to 3 weeks. So I'm like, it feels weird to say I'm playing it. And the reason is just that I've been playing a lot of other handheld games. Like, I'm playing a lot of 3DS and GBA games right now. So like, having another big like handheld RPG on the go, it just doesn't really make sense for me, Like, I realized, I'm like, you know what, I should just put it aside, because I really like it and I'm still enjoying it a lot, but I was just like, I think I just gotta wait until I feel that urge to play. Like, I don't know if you guys feel this, but like, I just get like, these days I have so many games that I just kind of wait and like think to myself, like, what do I want to play right now? And then it usually just appears, and I'm like, Fire Emblem. Yeah, I'll go play that, right? Like, it goes in these waves. Like, Yu-Gi-Oh! Was like that, right? I really wanted to play it, and now I've gotten it out of my system, And like, I go through bursts like that. And so Pokemon was during that heat wave. Oh, sorry, Rick, were you gonna say?
No. I'm just saying yes. I'm verbalizing an agreement. Sorry.
Yeah,
carry on.
Yeah. You know what I mean, right? And this is why I love having so many different different systems and just everything around me, because it's like, whenever I have a whim of like, man, I really just want to fucking play this thing, I can just be like, oh yeah, I can do that. Easy peasy, because I don't know. I find if I set out and I'm like, I'm going to play all these games, I just get sick of them really fast. And like, that was the same thing with Layton, right? Like, I got sick of it, and then I put it aside, and I just had that feeling again, like, I should beat Layton. And then it was like, boom, done. So anyway, Pokemon Prism, I've retired it. Nothing too crazy to say about it. It's a good game. I will beat this game. Unlike Kudelka, that's one of the games that I retired so many months ago, and I never came back to. But I'll still beat that one. I keep meaning
to ask about that one. Is that? I mean, was that the game was bad, or was it just you didn't want to play anymore?
No, I just stopped playing. Again, it wasn't bad at all. I just stopped. It was like a joke, and then I forgot to put it in retirements. So it is retired, but I don't know. Maybe one day I'll beat it. It's fun, but who knows?
Add it to the topics list. We'll just call that retire this week.
Yeah, exactly. All right, go ahead, Rick.
I was just going to say the other interesting one, it's almost like a flip side thing. This is foreshadowing for later for me, for sure, is when you want to play a game, but you don't want to play the game, if you know what I mean.
Mm-hmm.
And like, you like the idea of having that experience more than you actually want to go there. And to segue in, I had a little bit of this with Lichdom Battlemage, which is the first of 7 retirements from me.
Yeah, buckle in, folks.
I've been a busy boy. Some of them I've got more and less to say about, so it won't be too horrific. Lichdom is a game that just needed more time in the oven. It is fundamentally flawed in the way that it released. And this is the PC version, let alone the abysmal console ports, which, if anyone wants to sort of throw up their cereal for 10 minutes, go and check out Digital Foundry's review of that, because it is harrowing. It's truly scary. But on PC, it runs okay. The problem is that it's just not been play tested properly. And I'm basically going to end up saying the same thing that I've said for a few weeks in a row when I've said I'm playing this, but I'm not sure how much longer. It just isn't a good game. There's some nice ideas in there that never really got fleshed out or allowed to breathe. And it's a shame, but that's what it is. And I couldn't force myself to play any more of it. That's ultimately what I would have been doing. Retirement number 2, Dex for Vita. This might be a great game on PC, and it's still on my Steam wish list. It runs like someone with broken legs on Vita. It is not a proper port. I don't know how this got through Sony QA. It's not good. It's really not good, yo. So if you want to check it out, don't check it out there. And to an extent, that also applies to Witchcrafty for Vita, which is retirement number 3. Now, this is one of the last 6 games to release on Vita digitally. And I say release very, very loosely because the dev has been pretty open. Admittedly, I didn't see it until after I bought the game, about the fact that this is all that they could get done in time for Sony's release window. So it's not the full game. It's not properly bug tested. It doesn't really work properly. There is the core of a good game in there. It's a nice little sort of action platformer. But the Vita version of it is not a good representation of what the full game might be. So that's a shame. And I'm sort of disappointed that I bit on that. But I will sort of keep an eye on how the PC release fares, because it is one that could shape up much nicer overall. Game number 4 is an epic freebie called Last Day of June. So I have a lot of thoughts about this one. So the concept is... You are... Have either of you played this one before I jump in, actually, out of curiosity?
No, I just saw you like winding up, but sorry, Paula.
I haven't. Go ahead.
Oh, this one's always on sale. I've seen this on sale on the Switch so many times, and I've been like, maybe. But okay, yeah.
Don't.
All right, good to know.
Oh, but there's a reason why it isn't sell so often.
There's a nice idea in there. So the concept is you play as a husband whose wife dies in a car accident. And the car accident is caused by a series of contrivances in the world around you. And there's some supernatural sort of MacGuffin bollocks. But basically, you get to relive the day through those various different people, changing the way that their day builds up so as to prevent the catastrophe. But every time you prevent it, he wakes back up and she's still dead. And there's another contrivance that's forced it to be that way. Now, there's a fucking awesome idea there, conceptually, from a story perspective, about coping with loss and the idea that you couldn't change anything and learning to, the acceptance stage of grief. There's a really cool kernel in there. It doesn't really come to much of anything, and the problem is multifaceted. The gameplay's kind of dog shit. And by kind of dog shit, I mean, like, it runs pretty slow. There's these basic-ass puzzles that you can sort of see the solution to, and then you have to plod around the map to actually enact. It's really poorly thought out and explained, and it's heavily cutscened. You can tell from the opening sequence, it's basically a group of filmmakers that wound up making a game, and it shows in the final product. And it's a pet peeve of mine, and anyone who's a regular listener will know this. If you want to make a film, make a fucking film. There's no point making a game because it's going to be torturous for everybody. And I can't remember exactly how the story went, but I sort of got sick of it about an hour in out of what is a roughly 3-hour campaign. I watched what happens in the rest of the game on YouTube at double speed, and I'm very glad that I didn't slog through for what I thought could have been a very interesting story, because they did not do a good job of portraying it. Now, if it sounds appealing to you, I'm going to blaspheme a little bit and say go and find a playthrough on YouTube and watch it, because you will miss nothing, and actually you will have a better experience than if you bought or downloaded the Epic version and played it. It's just fundamentally, it's better as a film than it is in a game, and even as a film, it's got a number of flaws. And I'm angry because there was something good to be made there, and I hate that I can see something that I would have enjoyed, and it's like, nah, watch this shitty pretend film where we don't really take it in a very nice direction. So, very unhappy with this one, which is a shame.
Oof.
Let's take a moment. Let's breathe. Okay.
I mean, I've said that, like what you've said to, like, I've worked in theater for many years, and like I can't tell you how many times I've told people, like, if you want to make a movie, go make a fucking movie. Like, It's theater. Stop trying to make movies as plays. Just go make movies. Like,
Yeah, the medium's important. You can't just transplant it. It doesn't work that way.
no.
And it can't have been fun for them because there's limitations. They have to actually design a game. And it's not fun for me because I have to play a movie, and that's not how that works. It's just not. And the game that's there is just not good. The puzzles sort of work, but they're not really thought out or intuitive. They don't really justify themselves from a story perspective. I don't feel like you really get all that much insight from them in the way that maybe you could have done or should have done. And it's just another way that the game sort of fails in my eyes, which is a shame. But I didn't pay any money for it, so I've only lost time, which is more valuable. But whatever. I then briefly tried the DS port of Sonic Colors, and then I remembered that Sonic is shit. So I took that out of my DS. And hey, if you disagree, you're wrong, but tell me why I'm wrong in the comments down below while you're smashing that like button.
Honestly, though, I'm in the same boat. Like, I remember Sonic Mania, the one that everyone like raves on. I remember playing like the first couple levels, and I was like, I fucking suck at Sonic. I'm like, I'm bad. I hate Sonic. I hate Sonic. Why do I always convince myself that I think Sonic's good and go to play a Sonic game, and then I suck at it? I hate it. I hate it so much.
Let's take another tangent. Everyone fucking sucks at Sonic because the only way Sonic works is if you memorize that level. If you want to go fast, the game is not designed in such a way as to allow you to go fast organically. You have to learn the level or take fucking leaps of faith off a ramp where you haven't got a clue where you land, and you've got no way of knowing where you're going to land unless you've learned the level. And hey, if you want to,
well, and then the problem is that if you make it easier so that you can go fast, then it turns into the on rails bore fest that is a lot of the 3D one. Like, I'm like, I don't know how to win. Like, I'm happy for the people who love Sonic and want to memorize it. I'm happy for you guys. You got your Sonic Mania, but I'm like, I can't do it.
Olive Branch, Sonic Rush, and to a lesser extent, Sonic Rush Adventure.
Mm-hmm.
Good. Like, it's actually okay.
Yeah.
Very disgustingly short. I think I beat. So I got Sonic Rush for Christmas. It was one of the surprise games that I got one Christmas. I'd beaten it by Boxing Day, and we'd had family stuff, so I didn't have very much time to play it. But it's not a long game anyway.
But Sonic Colors, this is the one, or like the Wii one, right? Like they're remaking that, isn't it? Like Sonic Colors Generation or Ultimate or something like that.
HD, yeah, whatever.
Sonic Generations, blah 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 blah. We're reselling it to you. Yeah, got it.
Yeah, Sonic Colors. We ran an AI algorithm to upscale the textures edition.
So that's right.
We're getting there. So that's retirement number 5 of 7. Number 6 is Wario Land: The Shake Dimension. Now this is a very good game that is a very, very bad fit for me. Maybe that's me being a little bit too generous. So the problem with the Wario Land games, with all the Wario side scrolls to a greater or lesser extent, is that the stakes are non-existent. You can't die. 4 might be different on the GBA. That's the only one that I've not tried yet. But Wario Land 2 and 3 on the Game Boy Color and Shake Dimension. And I think to a degree, Masters of Disguise on the DS, which is actually I've quite enjoyed or remember quite enjoying. The way the game works is that you're actually never in all that much danger of dying. But the incentive to succeed and achieve within the game is all these extra objectives on top. The problem in Shake Dimension, more so than the others in my experience, is that those objectives are tedious to complete, not fun to do, and far too numerous. And so what I found myself doing is either playing the level and being bored as sin, and or trying to get a couple of the bonus objectives and just banging my head against the wall. Because there's somewhere it's like, collect so many coins. And because half the level's like a chase sequence out of the level, a la like the Metroid Prime games, which conceptually I like, I thought it was pretty cool. But some of the coins and various things are tied to that. And there's no do-over if you fuck that up. So it just didn't click with me either way. Game still looks gorgeous. Like for a Wii game at 480p, phenomenal. Looks really, really genuinely good. The art's exceptionally done. And it might sound like it's a game for you, but it really wasn't a game for me, which is a shame. So I've given it a try, and I've satiated that element of curiosity, and I'll happily move on. And I happily did move on to a very weird Source game called I Divine Cybermancy. This was a trip. So it looks very Warhammer 40k. It's based on some kind of other board game property, based on my very quick Wikipedia search before we started recording. It does not do a very good job of onboarding, to the extent that it basically doesn't. It just sort of dumps you in media res, and you've got to work out what's going on. And this sort of brings us full circle because it reminded me in a lot of ways of Lichdom Battlemage, in that there's some excellent ideas here that probably need a little bit more time in the oven. Now, the difference is that mechanically, most of the things in E.Y.E feel like they work, which isn't always the case with Lichdom. The problem is onboarding and tutorializing. The game doesn't have a tutorial. It literally, at certain points in the game, gives you a prompt to press T for tutorial, and then takes you to a list of videos, but doesn't tell you which one that it's trying to refer you to or why. And it's like, I'm not really sure I like a game that gives me 20 video tutorials and is just like, pick one. I don't know.
You'll learn eventually.
Or not. I don't fucking care.
I know.
And that's the thing with it. So it's very, very Eurojank. There is something cool in there. I didn't have the patience or the inclination to find it. So I tried it for a little bit. This has been a game that I bought based off Steam reviews well over 5 years ago, and it's just been sat on my SSD. This is the only reason I played it, because my SSD was getting a bit full. And this game takes up like 6 gig, which is a lot for a Source game. Like it's original Source engine. So I installed it, tried it a bit, wasn't really enthused. It's like, sick, I can make that space on my SSD. I don't need to keep that around anymore.
You can knock it off the old backlog.
Yeah, well, exactly that. Knock it onto the old retired pile. It's a shame. It's one of those. There's something cool in there, and it's always a little bit sad where you just feel like there's a block between you and finding the fun. And that's where I found myself, and that's probably where I should stop, because I've done a lot of talking.
Well, shit, I think you just retired more games than Paula has retired all year. So
all year, like in like the past like 4 or 5 years, probably.
Yeah. Well,
when we started, you had a couple retirements you were going through, though. You know, there was a period of time.
Oh yeah, yep.
Cool. Well, why don't we move on to what we're playing? And Paula, why don't you kick us off then, since you've been patiently listening?
Yes.
Yeah. I really haven't been playing like for long periods of time because of exams and all that stuff. But now I am free and I can play again. So I've been playing The Legend of Zelda: Breath of the Wild, shocker, and I pretty much like advanced a little bit with the story, reach Robbie's lab. I now can make Guardian equipment, so I feel powerful once again. Same as always, got a bunch of Kark seeds, got very laggy and got a star piece, solved a handful of shrines, and then I just upgraded some armor. I haven't done the quest for the third Divine Beast, but I'm getting there. And also, my nephew is like playing Breath of the Wild again, and I think I have a problem because he was asking me like, "Hey, where is this thing?" And I was like, "Oh yeah, that's stable. It's like right over here." And he went and he said that it was like in the exact spot that I marked. And then he asked me for like a piece of armor or something like that. And he didn't have that part of the map. But I did the same thing. I have issues.
Yeah, you know this game a little too well.
Yep.
Wow.
I don't know how to feel about that one. But yeah, like I'm back in Hyrule having fun. He had like amiibo cards too, so he said like, "Hey, you can scan my amiibo cards so you can get the armor faster." And I scanned the amiibo cards and I somehow got to a bonus.
Well, shit.
And I already have one. I also been playing Sweet Fuse. That's the Otome game that I talked about like a couple of weeks ago at this point. And I'm finally like at the start of one of the characters' route. As I said previously, this Otome game has like a lot of reference to other games. So stage 3 or chapter 3 was a theme around a horror game. And the way that they did the environment for this one and the art and the sound effects and all of that, I was like genuinely scared like at some point of that part of the game. And then I think I am supposed to be like on stage 4, but I didn't like go far enough to know like what kind of game it was like making a reference to. But yeah, like I am getting there. I am finally like getting to the meat and potatoes of the story in this game.
The sweet potatoes of the story.
The sweet potatoes of the story.
No, you missed it. Sweet fuse, sweet and potato, and don't worry about it.
Careful, man. If you keep going with these puns, I'm gonna blow a fuse.
See, that's what I should have gone for. I've been upstage.
I'll always be at your side, buddy. Don't worry about it. The fun ready to go. All right.
You need to leaf green this alone.
Yeah, that's not
Yeah.
bad.
Yeah.
Sorry, did you have anything else for
I'll
Sweet Fuse?
No, that's okay. That's all I have to say. I haven't been playing like recently in the last couple of days.
Okay.
What I've been playing the last couple of days, like just before I go to sleep, is Pokemon Leaf Green for the GBA. And I'm very happy to have picked up like a GBA and a link cable because my boyfriend also got a GBA, so we've been trading and battling and stuff. Yeah, I never had like the chance to do that on this game because I never had a GBA when I was growing up. So that has been like super cool.
There's something different about playing the GBA like on the actual console, handheld. It's so nice. Like
For real.
Yeah, it's so good. I'm glad you've joined us on the GBA.
Yeah, besides I could just like bring my GBA with me to bed and like after like 10 minutes I get sleepy and just save, turn it off, dead. Paula is dead for the night. So yeah, like I've been trying to create a live box. So I'm trying to catch like one Pokemon of each kind and have like the full Pokédex on the PC box. I'm about a third of the way through. I already got 50 species of Pokemon.
How many are there in green?
The national dex is 151. I don't know what's the national dex for that game.
Yeah, because anyway.
Did I say national dex twice?
Yeah,
you did. I wasn't
okay.
going to say anything.
The regional game for the regional dex is 151.
Yeah.
The national dex, I have no idea. It's probably like up to Gen 3 because that's when.
So there's 386.
Yeah.
Yeah, the national
sounds about right.
Contains the Hoenn and the Johto regions. So,
fuck Pokemon, man, Jesus Christ!
But you gotta catch them all, Rick. You gotta catch them all.
No, I really don't. I really do not.
Yeah, I just want to catch them all. I just wanna catch them all in the one game that I know I can, and not take like a bazillion hours doing so.
Oh, when I did that I did that in Pokemon Let's Go Pikachu. And I'm not going to lie to you, it was the most satisfying gaming achievement I've ever done in my life. Because I was like, as a child, I never could have gotten it. And like the day that I got all 151, I was like, yes. Like, I just had this like feeling of like, and you know what? It wasn't even like one of those feelings where right afterwards you're like, why did I do that? No, it just felt good. It just was great. And it still feels good. I'm like, I've got a fucking full Pokedex on Pokemon Let's Go Pikachu. And it's awesome.
Whack that on the old
That
CV.
is awesome.
Yeah. But you've been playing Pokemon Unite, huh? How's that going?
Oh, yep. So Pokemon Unite is a MOBA.
Mm-hmm.
A multiplayer online battle arena. And this one is another game that I've been like roped into by Reverie because he was like playing it and it kind of looked fun and it reminded me from the time that I played League of Legends, but way simpler and with a lot less salt, let's be honest.
Yeah.
And I tried it out and I can't stop making like a comparison to League of Legends. Like, I don't know like what the hell is the terminology for this game, like for a specific types of Pokemon, but it's like, oh yeah, this one looks like a top liner, or this one is a attack damage dealer, or a jungler, or stuff like that. So when I used to play League of Legends, I would usually go with very like crystal cannon attack dealer, or I would go into the jungle and just roam the map and try to kill stuff and stuff like that.
I was always the wolf guy, and I was jungler big time, and then would come out and get all those kills later in the game.
Yeah. I think for jungle I played Shyvana the dragon, the one that turns into dragon for the ulti.
Nice.
And felt
I
powerful. Yeah, it's been like at least 3 years since the last time I played because I used to play with a group. I never went like into the competitive side. I just played for fun, but still like was a little bit too stressing, especially when the games could extend like for an hour. So I was like very surprised when I saw Pokemon Unite, and the matches take at most 10 minutes because they are timed. So the thing with this game is you have 2 teams of 5 Pokemon each, and then you have like these little goals across the map. You have 2 lines and what is considered to be like the jungle, and you don't have like a middle line, just top or bottom.
Oh, okay.
Each line has these kind of like basketball style goals. And what you want to do in this game is to battle like the wild Pokemon, get points, and then score those points on these baskets. You pretty much like pull a slam dunk on those baskets to get points for your team. I don't know who got the idea for this, but it is actually fun.
I've heard that it's microtransactioned out the ass, though.
So there's
that's
what's
a
his name?
thing.
What's he called? Most Critical. That's the one. He day one downloaded it, bought like £200 worth of microtransactions, and just was dunking on everybody because it is that pay to win.
Oh my
god! It really depends, because in theory you could get a lot of the game gives you a lot of stuff. Like if you play like every day, you actually get a lot of the items you can buy in the store for free.
But the point is, like, it's not in theory pay to win. Like in practice, he paid and won.
Right.
Like he was top of the leaderboard.
Yeah.
Everything day one because he just bought his way ahead, and that's what's so sort of fucky about it. He's getting like, it still sort of sucks, but if it's just cosmetic, like you can at least say it's not sullying the core play experience. But that just isn't the case with this one at all in the slightest.
Oh, the big thing that makes it a little like a lot. Not a little bit, a lot like pay to win with this game is that you're being limited on the amount of coins you can win, like in game per week.
Ew.
Like from the battles themselves. There are like many types of currency that to the point that it is stupid. So you have the regular golden coins that you will usually use to get your Pokemon, and to get the character you have to buy what is called a license. And then you can use that character forever. There's still like Pokemon like on rotation every week, and there's like one for each role in the game, so you can try whichever one you want and then like try to save up for those, which is like very standard for boas. The thing is that the items you can still get for gold, or you can get for these tickets that you get from, was it like from the rank battles or the regular battles? Whatever, you get them by battling, but obviously it is faster to just buy them. But you can use those tickets for cosmetics for your trainer or for these enhancers for your items. And that's the one thing that is like really pay to win, because the amount of tickets you get is not limited, but it takes a while to farm them. And of course, the person that can directly buy those will get extra stats to the point that it is much deciding. The other thing about this game is that I don't consider myself to be like really good at MOBAs in general, but since I played all these years League of Legends, like especially at the start, like the first couple of days, I kind of felt bad playing. Because I was like on everyone, and at that point I didn't even have the items. So yeah, like the items in particular, they really matter when you're playing with others that are your similar like level. Now, if the skill level of the two players are about the same, the items can be a deciding factor, and that's why it is pay to win.
Yeah, it sounds vile. I have to be honest, it sounds horrific.
Yeah, I mean, from what I understand of this game, like it's releasing to mobile soon. Is it like this game is designed to
it's mobile already, isn't it? It's just on mobile.
Oh,
yeah, it is on Switch and mobile, I think.
Yeah.
Oh, Switch as well, right? Okay.
Well, that's where it went on Switch. Like this game is designed to make millions of dollars in China. That's literally what this game is designed for. Like they're huge into mobile gaming there, and especially like this kind of like fucking, microtransactions aren't as big of a deal. It's like something that actually makes a lot. So like when I see this, I just go, nice cash grab, Pokemon. It's nice to hear that it's kind of
Still,
fun, at least.
yeah, it's just that the gameplay is a lot of fun, and if you can like get a couple, of, even just a friend or two on your team, it is way more fun because when you can actually communicate with your team or have someone to play with that also know how to play MOBAs in general and this game in general, it is a lot more enjoyable because what usually happens when you have a big company like the Pokemon company doing something is that you get a lot of new players into something they weren't used to. So suddenly you have like 3 or 4 people wanting to go like in the bottom line, and then you have like one lonely Pikachu or something on the top line.
Yeah, shame you can't communicate on the fucking Switch.
Well, but yeah, it is a shame on that aspect, but in the other aspect, I kind of like not being able to hear what the other players are saying.
Fair.
Pros and cons, yeah.
I've never been yelled at so much as in COD and League of Legends. My God.
Yeah. I retired from League of Legends because of how fucking toxic that community can be.
Oh, it's rough. If you find good people to play with, it's a blast, but yeah.
Yep.
Same as any online multiplayer game, to be fair.
Fair.
Yeah, but I'll say
some more than others.
It was a lot worse in League, but
okay.
It was. I'm just saying, it was bad, man. It was bad. Like, I've played other online games, and you know, you get the occasional, but it was like every goddamn game. Not necessarily yelling at me either, but yeah, you know what I mean. Like sometimes it wasn't even that they were like oftentimes I could skate by because I was good enough, but like you'd hear people just shitting on someone, and you're like, they're just learning, leave them alone. Anyway.
Yeah, like I remember having like it wasn't like even from my team, but it was from the opposite team, and they were like kicking up a sandstorm about how bad their teamwork makes or something like that, and they were asking us to report their teammates.
Oh my god, yeah, so many report, and you're like, just because someone doesn't play great doesn't mean you can report them. Jesus Christ. I'm like,
yeah.
You can't report someone because they're bad at a game. Come on.
Now that I think about it, you can't report someone on Pokemon Unite, so that's a plus.
Oh, there you go. Well, yeah, you can't hear them, so whatever. All right, Pokemon Unite. Well, I will never touch it, but good to hear you're having fun. What about Bustafellows? Your fucking dumb game that got 5 fucking ratings on OpenCritic and gave you 27 fucking points. I was like, there's the strategy. You got to get the game that only gets rated 5 times.
You've taken it well, though, Alex. You've taken it in your stride. You've been really cool and collected about it.
Oh, I'm very cool and calm about this goddamn game. No, I laughed pretty hard when I saw that come up, though. I was like, yeah, Paula is a force to be reckoned with on Fantasy Critic League.
You're getting hair and tortoise is what's happening.
Yeah.
I just picked an Atomic game that I knew no one would pick. And I heard like good things about the game because it was released in Japan first.
Well, oh, motherfucker. Yeah, that's good. Oh, usually they don't let you pick those. What? Fuck.
Usually they don't.
It's so small that he didn't know.
No, the wrinkle with the VNs is often they get released first on a different console. So like there's one I'm playing that I'll come to that it was a PS3 release in Japan. Mm-hmm. But then it got a global release on PS4 and Switch. Oh, and I'm imagining that's the same with Bustafellows.
You know what?
No, this one got released on Switch, on Japan, and Switch.
I'm actually not so mad now because I just checked Bustafellows' score and it's gone down to 89. So I'm not as mad anymore. I take it back. Paula had 27 points from the game, but I think now you just got 19. And you know what? That's fair. And I'll be honest with you, as someone who has a game that just kept like creeping downwards, like fucking Super Mario. Sorry, this is besides the point, but Mario Golf has been slowly creeping to the 70 mark, and I'm like, no, stop.
That was such a relief because I thought you'd hit a gold mine there, and I was quite angry that I hadn't got there first, and then no, you just haven't.
I've had a real mixed bag. We'll put it that way. I've had games go down and games go up. Like Chicory keeps going up. Ghosts and Goblins Resurrection has gone up. It's weird. It doesn't matter. But anyway, Paula, tell us about Bustafellows.
Okay, so Bustafellows is the newest Atomic game localization, and this one was localized by P-Cube. Also, this one is very, very interesting, and I've been having a lot of fun. And P-Cube has asked all players to only like post spoilers and stuff for Chapter 1, and like be as vague as possible and not spoil the game for everyone like past chapter 2 onwards. So this is like the one time I'll be able like to talk like more in depth about the game.
Nice.
So on Battlefield, you play. You take the role of Toda, a journalist that works for a magazine in this fictional town of New Siege. So the thing is that Toda has this weird ability where she can like kind of like time leap to the past, a little bit like Okabe from Steins Gate.
Of course she does. Okay. Sorry, go on.
But she doesn't return to her own body when she does that. Like she takes on the control of someone else's body like for a brief period of time, and she pretty much has to work with that. She can only go back like for minutes or hours, never like for days. So that's like the rule of how her time jump power goes. And she will like timely like back to the present and see like what happened.
And when she comes back to the present, she's briefly someone else before she reverts to her own body.
No, she reverts to her own body like directly. But she when she jumps back to the past, she pretty much takes on the body of someone completely random.
Oh, it's in the past that she... Right, okay.
Yeah.
That makes slightly more sense. I'm with you. Yeah.
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah. So how this game starts is like after like a series of events, like she's been trying to get us this one scoop with this Kirk lawyer guy, and stuff happens and she watched him die. And pretty much like she got like his dying message and it's like, okay, I need to go back and do something. And she jumps back in time, prevents his death, and then she becomes involved with this particular group that calls themselves fixers. They pretty much try to serve justice where the law is not able to. And this game is very, very interesting because the thing she's trying to do with her being like in this journalist is one, try to expose the truth about stuff. And not only that, but she really wants to write in a way that she wants to make the reader think, because she says that there are like a lot of things that really get under the radar, or things that everyone knows that aren't like quite right, but no one really like presents a solution or tries to do something, like even like comment on it. So that's the angle she's trying to go for in the magazine. And that is very interesting because like even like in the early chapters in the game already presents you with a lot of interesting characters and interesting scenarios that don't really have like only one way to see the thing or only one answer to. So without going into much of the spoiler, like just a little bit before recording, I was playing and I got this heavy question. I was like, damn it, I wasn't expecting this in my Atomic game. But yeah, it has been a lot of fun. Also, this game knows like how to be, or when to be like funny, or when to be like more serious, which is very, very appreciated in the game. Also, Tota is a blast to listen to, and the protagonist is voiced. Like she's fully voiced.
Interesting.
Which
in Japanese, or
in Japanese, the Battlefield is completely voiced in Japanese. And the protagonist is very, very funny, and I love her. Nice. And the main cast seems to be like this kind of trope of this found family, because their interactions, they really bounce off each other like really good. So it is really a blast to go through this game so far.
Nice.
So yeah, like that score seems to be like very well, so, and it better be, because damn it, DHL like took a cut from the game because I had to import the special edition from the UK because they only sold it there.
Weird.
You could really say that they bust a wallet.
Yep, they bust my wallet. Funny because like
oh Christ,
even for me that was pretty poor.
The special edition in Japan actually had like this suitcase, and you open it and it has like this layer of paper that is like print fields on it. Damn, wasn't there in the
Oh.
in this version of the game, but still it was like this little suitcase. And it has a magazine that is an art book, and it is amazing. And it has Crow's mixtape that is actually an item in the game.
That's awesome.
So yep, that's about it for me. Alex, take it away.
Excellent. Okay, so I have been playing a bunch of games. Well, not that many. I was on the flight. I'm gonna go on this one first because it's quick. I was like watching Canada's Drag Race, and I was like, I just want something to just do. So I just played Pokemon Picross because I saw it on there, and I was like, oh yeah, I forgot I have this on my 3DS. And was just going through it.
It's good Picross.
Yeah, it's my least favorite Picross I think I've played actually, because it's got because of all the stupid waiting fucking gimmicks and the energy bar and shit. I'm like, fuck off. I'm like, if you're gonna make Picross is for me to play for hours on end. Don't give me this bullshit. Like, I'm like, I don't like this. But something awesome that's coming out tomorrow or a couple days ago, if you're listening to this, is Picross S Genesis and Master System Edition. So it's like all of these Genesis and Master System pixel graphics. And so all of the puzzles are like unlocking pixel art from those, from games for those systems. And I'm like, that's so fucking smart. Why are there not more of these goddamn things? Like, why doesn't Nintendo just say, hey, Picross, here's all of our SNES like games. Just make all the puzzles off that. Because like, who cares when you make a puzzle when it's an apple? Like, I want it to be fucking Link. You know what I'm saying? Like, give me that good shit. So
bold of you to assume that Nintendo would ever properly use their back catalogue.
I know, right?
Rather than just sell the same thing again a sixth time.
Yeah.
So is this a Switch game? This Picross S thing?
Yep. It's on the Switch. It's you know, what is it, like $13 or something Canadian? Or like $12.
No, Switches are way more expensive than that.
Oh, you're funny. But the Picross one, I think all the Picross games are on sale right now, actually.
That's Alex being done with my shit.
They're cheap. I'm going to get it, so expect me playing that soon. Because they're so cheap. It's like, might as well. Yeah, $14 Canadian. I'm like, sure, I will pay that. Totally happy to pay that. I'm also playing The Ascent. Xbox, their Game Pass. I know Abatage is playing that as well right now and loving it. I really like it. I know that there are some problems, I think, on like Xbox One, maybe on the PC, I'm not sure. On the Series X, it works. It's flawless. Like I've had zero issues with the game, and it's really fun. It's such a fascinating game because it's a twin stick shooter unlike any I've ever played before, because like it even has like, so like you're firing from the hip by default, but if you hold down the button that you would usually use to aim, you actually aim higher. And like, there are enemies who are too short where if you do that, at one point I was like, wait, why can't I hit them? Oh, yeah, shit, right, I got a hip fire. And like, you can shoot over cover, you can use cover. Like, it's very tactical. It's hard, but like satisfying. So it taught me quickly, because I was like, sometimes twin stick shooters, you just run in and it's like, blast everything. But in this one, like, I remember I went in and I got fucked. And I was like, okay, so I have to be a little more tactical. And it was like, I better. And so it behooves you to learn the systems and to utilize everything, like the utilize your grenades, utilize your like cool cyberpunk upgrades that you can get. And once you do that, like, yeah, it's quite fun, and I really like it. I can see why, like, because it's rating right now like 75ish. I think I can see probably why it's there, but I think it's like really fun is the thing. So like, it has some issues, but it's one of those games where I'm like, yeah, it's got some issues, but it's so much fun that I really think you can overlook them and you'll have a good time, especially if you're playing this on Game. If you're playing this on Game Pass, it's a goddamn no-brainer. Like, boot it up, go to town. But I have to say, it's so gorgeous. Like, especially on my fucking series. I'm like looking at this thing. It feels like I'm walking through just like a real world, and someone has just put me at like that, isometric angle, and I'm just kind of peering in on it because it's so well realized. So anyway, that's The Ascent. I'll be playing a lot more. I'm also playing Fire Emblem, The Blazing Blade, or just Fire Emblem on the GBA. Is
that the one with Lynn?
Yes. It's the one with Lynn and Elwood. Yeah. Elwood, whatever. It's the prequel to the one on that's with Japan only that has Roy in it, which I think is like the Binding Blade. Yeah. So it's a prequel to that because Elwood is Roy's father, I think. So you're playing as like his daddy. So basically, I've beaten the like tutorial, which is basically like you play 10 chapters as Lynn, and it like introduces you to the game. So I see why this was the first Fire Emblem in the West, because it kind of makes sense. Like, it has such a long involved tutorial, which is very fun. Like it feels like it's its own game, honestly.
I stopped at the end of the tutorial for exactly that reason. I need to go back to that game at some point.
Yeah, right? Because you
I need
think,
to
oh,
go
it's
back to
over.
that game because
Yeah.
the battery busted and I lost my save. And I was like, fuck that, I'm not playing again until I get a new save.
Well,
I'm a new battery.
I have this nice, beautiful little like see-through green GPA that I modded with the IPS screen, which, oh my God, the first IPS screen I got, fucking broken when I got it. Like it was like the bottom, and I fucked it up way worse because I thought, anyway, there's a whole story. But the company that I got it from sent me another one for free, which like, thank you, Retro Modding. I'll shout them out. They're great. But man, modded this thing with like a nice little like rechargeable battery in the back there. And holy shit, the battery time on this is so fucking good. I've been playing it so much. It's so much fun. I will say this though, the GBA Fire Emblems and Fire Emblem Until Awakening, garbage stories. Fucking worthless. It's nonsense. It's just nonsense. It's like, my grandpa's dying, bye! Like, you're going off, like, you know what I mean? It's like just enough for you to give a shit. And honestly, that's kind of all I want, you know? Like, I'm like fine with it. Cause like, I think when you get to Awakening, it starts to make more sense. You have like 3D models, you have like more ability to tell a story. On the GBA, it's like, you got those sprites and that's kind of it. Like those like face sprites. And so I actually kind of appreciate that the stories aren't necessarily as involved and are just kind of like guiding you along enough to get you going there. Now, I'm not saying it's like horrific, but it's not like, don't go into it expecting like, oh, get ready for this long, super intense, like winding story where you're going to really love everybody. Like, it's fine. The Lynn story, what? Yeah, but the gameplay is excellent, and that's what I'm fucking here for, right? Like, the scenarios are fun, and you get to like the characters enough, but you mostly like the characters based on their utility. Like, let's be real. Like, there's some characters where I'm like, there's like this axe wielder Dorcas, and like, he reappears in the first chapter of the Elwood story, and I was like, hey, I know that guy. So, you know, yeah, I know him. But like, I like him a lot because I'm like, he killed good people real good. So, you know what I mean? Like, that's like kind of why you like people. Like Lynn was like borderline trash in the first 10 chapters, and I was like, oh, okay, well, and if she dies, it's game over. So I was like, well, I'm not using you. I'm just gonna use all the really good characters. But anyway, it's really fun. I would like to go through all the GBA ones because there's actually a new translation. Well, it's an addendum to the old translation of the Binding Blade that like just came out this year, and apparently it fixes the translation a little bit because it was like a little wonky and like there was some like grammar stuff. And so I'm like, you know, might as well start with this one, pop onto to its technically sequel, even though it came out first, and then do Sacred Stones, which I think is like completely unrelated to these two games. In general, Fire Emblem games, they're almost always unrelated, but funny thing, I noticed that one of the backgrounds in this is almost identical to one of the sections in Three Houses. And like in the actual like courtyard, I was like, oh my God, I recognize this. And I was like, oh shit. Like, it's not exactly the same, but like you can tell like I don't know, you can just see like there's a consistency to the worlds they make, right? And they've kind of had them for a long time, and you could tell like they just expound upon them as they go along.
Work smarter, not harder. There you go.
Exactly, right?
Yep.
Have you played? So right, Paula, you said you because you lost your save, and Rick, you've only played.
Yeah, I lost myself Blazing Blade, and I actually found the translation just speak of Binding Blade, so that one is on the backlog. I'm playing Tales of Valencia next, and I think I'll eventually get to the GBA ones. I am really looking forward to those, especially since I actually have a GBA now.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. You'll have a great time, and they have a great suspend feature, right? Where like, you know, on the GBA, it's just you click it and it just pops you out, and it's just like shut it right off, and you're good to go. Yeah. I really want to play all the Fire Emblem games. Like, it's something that I've already played plenty of them, so it's like might as well make my way through. That'll take years. Anyway. Enough on that. I'm talking too long. We're going to have a long episode today. So I'm also playing Professor Layton versus Phoenix Wright. Finally bought this game like a year ago. Fucking love this game. Holy shit, is it good. It's also dark as shit at first. Like, and I won't spoil things, but like, there's a couple of things where I was like, what? Now, I'm also going to say this, and like this is just kind of a me thing, but witches are a big part of this game. They're quite a big part, and that's fine. But I'm just going to say, historically, witches is a pretty gendered thing, and usually, I'm not really sure this game's going to be able to handle or comment whatsoever on that. Like, it's just feels like it's kind of taking for granted, like, women be witches, and you're like, where the fuck you going with this, buddy? Like, it's just, anyway, it just rubs me.
I feel like if that's what you want, Leighton versus Phoenix Wright is probably not the game to find it.
No, but it's just also like a little bit. But even then, I don't know, because the Phoenix Wright games do a lot of good stuff in these realms. But anyway, some of it I'm just kind of going like, God damn it, we really have to use witches for this. But anyway, it's fine. It's just a little thing for me. But this is probably a better Leighton game than a Phoenix Wright game per se, just because I think Phoenix Wright games are already perfect, and Leighton games aren't. So this is a really good Leighton game. It's amazing that this game is even a thing, honestly, because like it's two completely different companies, and like the fact that they came together and made this, right? Like it's not like Leighton licensed Wright or fucking Wright licensed. Like the two fucking heads who make this came together and made this game, and it's a fucking miracle. So like it has an alternative like history type like they get sucked into a book. All right, we'll just put it that way. And for some, that might be a little like. And that happens like right away. And for some, you might be a little like, what? But like, also that has to happen because the Leighton games.
There's no other way.
Yeah, they're not in our present world, right? They're not even in our world. And like Phoenix Wright is. And so like, it wouldn't really make sense. And I like what they've done with it. And, it's got a way more involved story than I would have imagined. And I kind of love the idea of like, because there's less fucking puzzles and the puzzles are more specific. And I love that. Like they're just way more specific. The multiple witness thing is awesome. I'm like, what a cool, fun thing. And this was the first time that Phoenix Wright went in like the 3D direction. So this was like a real big like milestone for the Phoenix Wright series. And I know that like, the Great Ace Attorney, I think, actually takes a lot of like kind of ideas from this game and runs with them. Like I know there's multiple like jurors, I think, in these ones. And so it's like, it's really cool to see how like this collaboration actually, I don't know, it just unlocked ideas, I think, for a lot of the creators in the games and like really allowed, I think, the Phoenix Wright games to kind of go in like a new, interesting direction. So yeah, if you like, I do recommend playing the Leighton trilogy first, because I think it's just kind of like, it allows you to kind of know these characters. Like I think if you were going to play this game, I would play the Phoenix Wright trilogy and the first Leighton trilogy, and then you're going to have like an excellent time. You don't have to, but I just think you'll appreciate it a little more in that sense. Anyway, because you beat this, right,
yeah, I beat this game. I absolutely loved it, and one of the things that really blew my mind is that these are two different games, two different like franchises with different art styles, music, and all that. And they merge it in a way that it feels like it should have happened.
Yes. It feels like it's supposed to be like this. Like you're actually like you're playing it and you're like, oh yeah, Phoenix Wright should have puzzles. Like it just, you know what I mean? Like you're just like, that makes sense. Yeah, this makes perfect sense. And you're like, of course Leighton would be good in a courtroom. Duh. Like it's just, yeah, it's nice. I love Inquisitor Barnum. He's awesome. The characters are wonderful. They're all the stuff, like all of the fucking witnesses are hilarious and just so Phoenix Wright, but also so Leighton. Like that's what's incredible is like the witnesses are kind of in like the Leighton art style, but they're so Phoenix Wright. And I'm like, it's amazing. Anyway, I'm sorry, I'm done. We're already like so long on this. I'm going to talk about Phoenix Wright a lot more in the next coming weeks. I'm about halfway through it already though. It's about a 24-hour game, so I'm getting there. Anyway, Rick, take us home. What are you playing?
Yes. Well, I'm going to blaze through these because I've spent more than long enough talking about my own. So 3 games on the go at the moment. The first one, another P-Cube translated stroke localized game, Root Film. So I talked very briefly about this last time. It's still really good. So the art is very strong. It's got this almost sort of quasi-realistic look, but it's hand-drawn and colored and a little bit cel-shaded. It feels like an amalgam of a lot of different things, but while retaining its own identity and still sort of fitting in with the grounded approach that the Root quote-unquote series takes. Still sort of getting into the meat of the story, but I've liked what I've seen so far. I like the characters. There's a real cool buddy vibe sort of going on between Yamato and Megari, who are two of the main characters on one half of the game, because you have two protagonists. It's like split scenarios almost. But I like it so far, and it's probably, of the ones I'm playing, probably the one I'm going to finish first because it's the shortest. Second one is Wargroove, last month's game of the month, and this is sort of what I was alluding to earlier when I talked about sort of like wanting to play it, but not really wanting to play it.
Yeah.
And I think it is just another one of those games where I would have a lot more fun with it on a Steam Deck or a Switch.
Yeah.
The fact of having to boot the laptop up and boot the whole game up and then play a full level, and then once I've done that, I feel like I have to play a few levels to justify having done all the setup. I mean, the game's good. If you've heard anyone talk about it, it's like, oh yeah, it's Advance Wars, but it's sick. Or it's like Fire Emblem, but it's sick. Like, it's just a really good example of that genre. And that definitely holds. Like, the gameplay is excellent. It's just not quite clicking for me at the moment. And I think I'll probably push through and beat it eventually. You know, I don't want to make out like I'm not having a good time, because I am. I just wish I could have a more frictionless time with it, I suppose is a good way of putting it. And the last one, this has been on the docket for about 6 weeks and I've just not touched it, but now I can finally say I'm actually playing it. And that is Vagrant Story, which I am playing on the glorious OLED screen of one of my fat Vitas. Didn't expect this to be such a Hideo Kojima game. I'm about an hour in, and I'd say maybe 10-15 minutes of that's actual gameplay.
Oh, fucking hell.
Tops. But so far, just about tolerable. The art is lovely. It makes real good use of sort of the chunky PS1 polygons. And there's this awesome storybook kind of styling to it. The text bubbles are like comic book strippy. There's loads of sort of medieval political intrigue. It really draws you in very soon. Theoretically, I think this is an Avalis Alliance game, so it's technically set in the same world as the Tactics Advance games and FF12. Although it's not especially clear that there's any links so far, so I haven't seen the chocobos. You can tell this is from the era of sort of PS1 RPGs where they were still like working out what the fuck an RPG on the cusp of the 21st century meant. Because there's a lot of experimental systems, there's a lot of faffing about. There's a weird thing. So this is like an isometric action RPG, but if you flick the right stick, it takes you to free look mode, where you then have to use the left stick with inverted horizontal but regular vertical to look around the 3D space. And I'm sure that was very impressive at the time, because what happens is as you move to free look, the ceiling pops in, and then you have a full-on like diorama thing, and then you can see it pop out when you go back to regular view, and it draws the camera back out. It's wonderfully of its time. It's
like Jak and Daxter. That's such a PS1 thing, man. Like, it's just like, you know what I mean? Like, they were like, look, guys, 3D environments.
It's like you're really there.
Yeah.
And the combat's interesting as well. So it feels a bit Parasite Eve, although I sort of bounced off Parasite Eve a little bit, where when you press the attack button, you have this, like, the word I'm looking for, like vector line sort of grid thing that pops out, and anything that's in range you can target. And then it's a VATS-like thing where you can select like an arm or a head or a body or a leg, and the enemy can do the same to you, and there's different buffs and debuffs depending on what you hit and how badly you damage it. And it feels like it draws that good stuff from ATB, where it feels like you're in the middle of something frenetic, but you also get the time to stop and work out what you're doing. Reminded me a lot of Transistor in that sense, actually, in the way that they set up their combat. And so far, I'm really, really digging it. So I can see some of the extraneous systems possibly grating on me as time goes on, because generally, like, crafting and putting weapons together, I sort of bounce off that a little bit. It doesn't really, no pun intended, grip me. But the world building, the aesthetics, the combat more generally, all feels good so far. And it's not especially long for an RPG. It's like the 2025 out mark. So yeah, I'm looking forward to playing more of that one as well. It's 3 long boys in my playing at the moment.
Well, there we go, folks. That's our like basically episode long look at what we've been beating retired. Yeah. Oh, so much. Yeah, no, that's all right. Well, I don't know. We all talked a fair bit, I think. We're good.
Yep.
So why don't we come on to our topic then? So yeah, we talked about, for the last 2 episodes, we talked about the OLED Switch. We've talked about the Steam Deck. And now let's talk about the other handheld that is definitely not aiming for power, the Playdate. which both Rick and I have pre-ordered. I pre-ordered it for the 2021 launch, so hopefully some point this year I'll be getting it, and I believe, Rick, you're getting it next year.
Mine says 2022. I'm hopeful that some people will cancel their pre-orders and mine will shuffle forward in the queue, but we'll see.
Maybe, yeah. So for those who don't know, the Playdate is a very cute little yellow machine by the people behind games like Firewatch. Forget the other ones. Little indie studio. They make those fun little narrative games, and they've created this little piece of hardware that's like looks like a really small Game Boy. I would say looks like kind of like a Game Boy Pocket, but much tinier, and it has a little crank that you can use to play games. And
very, very thin as well. I should say as well, they're the publisher, so they're not the developer. So
yes, sorry, it's publisher. Yeah.
Firewatch, for example, is Campus Santos. But,
yes.
It's published. Sorry, go on.
No, that's fine. That's a good thing to add. And so it's their first time making hardware, and I'm in love with this little thing. Like, it's so cool. Monochromatic, like high quality display. It's going to have 24 games. So basically they're doing like 2 games a week, essentially, as like a season
12 weeks,
thing. Yeah. So for 12 weeks, they'll give you 2 games a week. They show you what most of the games are, but you can hide. Like, I purposely haven't looked at what most of them are because I'm like, I kind of want them to be a little bit of a surprise. Yeah. And they've got an excellent little dev kit that you can use. There's an online one right now, and then they're actually going to release the dev kit that anyone can work on. And I don't know, like, I don't know about y'all, but I've seen a lot of people, like, there's so many people who's just like, why would you want this? Like, it's so expensive, and like, and I'm like, guys, like, I am so goddamn down for new fucking random experiences on a little handheld like this, and the fact that it has its own like kind of interesting control mechanic in it as well, besides like the traditional ones, I'm like, this speaks to me on an emotional level. Like, I'm making a fucking Game Boy game.
That's probably something we should acknowledge. Like, this is a very niche product, and we fall firmly into that niche.
Yeah.
So like, I was putting my order in at work, and I had a colleague look over my shoulder, and it's just like, you're paying how much for that? The screen's black and white. You do realize what you're buying, yeah? And I was like, you don't realize what I'm buying. I realize exactly what I'm buying, and I'm very down for it.
Well,
and it sorry, go on.
No, go ahead.
I was just going to say, I think it's one of those things where out of the limitations, creativity grows. And especially when you have those limitations, as you say, alongside this really unique input thing in the crank. And the one game that I have seen a little bit of, just because it was so heavily used in promotional materials, it's a puzzle game coming from some like semi-auteurish developer, like someone that if you Googled their name, you would have known the games that they've come from. And the crank's like the time moving forward and back, and there's a puzzle-solving mechanic associated with doing different things at different times. Gave me mad Ghost Trick vibes mechanically. But it just looks like a really cool and unique setup, and also with the little magnetic cover that goes over the top of this beautiful piece of hardware. Like, it's clearly designed with aesthetics in mind as well. It looks like the perfect sort of drop in my pocket and play on the commute kind of thing. And I'm a sucker for that, whether it's the Game Boy Micro, whether it's the PSP Go, whether it's this. I'm a sucker for something that's truly portable, not Switch like you could fit it in Jinko jeans or a satchel portable, like portable.
Plus, I imagine that, all those Bitly games, right? Like the ones that we love, that we played by, what's her name?
Cecile Richards,
yeah, like all those
How
games.
dare you, blasphemer.
I know, I just couldn't
Those would be perfect on
right?
these little things.
And they're easy to translate over to this, right? Because it's like, again, those are monochromatic games. There is a community of creators making monochromatic work. And like, I know Lucas Pope, Return of the Obra Dinn and stuff, he's working on something for it.
He is indeed, yeah.
Yeah, which I was like, yeah. Like, come on, give me that. And just the idea that like, I don't know, I love this idea so much, because you see a lot of companies try to come in and make like a console, right? Like, they're like, yeah, we're going to make a new big thing. But it's like, games are so fucking expensive. But a little thing like this, a monochromatic game that genuinely someone could make on their own. Like, do you know how many fucking game developers have like a side project on the go all the time? Like, creatives, we all do this. We have side projects on the go. And a little thing like this, man, I can see myself tinkering around making little games on this thing to my heart's content, because it's like, it's so simple, and immediately, like, there's immediate validation to it, right? Like the fact that you can like pop it in and just try it out and be like, oh, look at that. Like to me, and as someone who's going to be a teacher, like this actually for me feels like a really fun thing of being like, ooh, look, I can like help kids, like, they want to make a little project. It's like, this seems like a fun little thing to make something on and be like, good, try it out, like, anyway, I love this thing. I think it's just excellent. But what do you think, Paula? I know it's a little out of the...
Yeah, it's a little bit out of my budget at this moment. Maybe the situation will change in the future, hopefully. But it looks really neat. And one of the things that really caught my mind is that, it really caught my eye, was that the screen isn't illuminated. It is like highly reflected. I'm like really curious on how the hell that works.
Mm-hmm. Oh, sorry. We're getting to the point, your exhaustion point, right?
Yep, I'm getting to my exhaustion point. I don't know how I'm even awake at this point.
And I think the monochromatic screen and the fact that it's like 1 bit basically, I think that's part of the reason why they're able to have the unlit screen, right? Like it's like when you make it super reflective, but then also when you restrict what it can display, it can just display it in a higher contrast. I'm no expert, but anyway, that's from what I've been noticing at least. But I'll be really curious when I get it in my hands, because everything that I've seen, they've talked about it. They're like, it's smaller than I even thought it was, because like it really just like so tiny and fits right in your right in the palm of your hand. So yeah, count me as an excited
feels like
person.
they've nailed. It feels like they've nailed all of those compromises where they make them where they've not. Mm-hmm. So like in terms of the screen, in terms of maintaining things like Bluetooth connectivity. So like it's got a headphone jack, but you can also just hook up speakers to it that way. And then like the I hesitate to use the word ecosystem, but the little sort of ecosystem that they're building around it with this free dev tool, with the fact the whole thing is an open platform that you can just like sideload things to and from at your heart's content. With the little speaker that they've got coming, which is very like statement piece sort of thing, where you just like plug it in and leave it on a minimalist sort of hipster desk with a little pen poking out the top.
Yep.
It feels like they've really laser focused in on what they want to do and got all of the things around that right. And I think that speaks to what you say as well. Like, to be successful, it doesn't have to sell 50 million units. You just have to find enough of an audience to build something into and around. And I think it's a really smart approach. And I love that there's space in the industry for this kind of thing now.
Yeah, and I think they're doing it the right way, where it's such a small thing, where it's like, look, we committed to 20,000 units, and then we'll just make more based on who orders it. I also think that's a hilariously great idea too, because like if scalpers buy it, I mean, you're just sort of fucked. Like, you know what I mean? Like it's like they're making more, so like, I mean, go ahead, scalpers, buy as much as you want, but like, I'm not sure that, you know what I mean? Like, it's like, I'm already not sure that you're going to be able to like scalp this for crazy prices, because it feels to me like they're just going to keep trying to create them. So I don't know. It's like a niche product.
It also feels very scalper resistant, because if you think about it, like it's not a limited pre-order in that like they're not making any more ever. It's just limited in that like we have the capacity to get this many out this quickly. If you keep ordering, we'll keep making, sort of thing.
Exactly. Yeah. So anyway, color me excited.
Yellow.
Color me yellow. Haha, I'm excited.
Not my form day today. I do apologize.
But it's it's just like, honestly, when I think about this thing, one of the biggest reasons that I jumped in on it was just the fact that, yeah, it's a little expensive, but it's the most interesting thing that's being made right now. Like as far as I'm concerned, like there's nothing else that, like, for me, I'm like, I got a Switch, I got my Series X, I can basically play whatever I want. But it's like, this is a thing where I'm like, can't play those games unless I get this thing, and I'm like, I want in.
Not only that, but the creator aspect of this thing is that not only you'll get like 24 free games, but maybe you'll be able to play like whatever the others that have the Playdate, or like just develop for the Playdate. Make.
Oh, I'm
so it's a little bit like Mario Maker, or like what's the game builder garage, or Dreams in that aspect.
Yeah, I think HIO will see a number of Playdate games appear.
And they're talking about potentially a second season, which will probably be like a paid one, if the first one does really, really well, which I would be all about, I think. Same. We'll see.
And look, I'll be happy if I just get this first season. You know what I mean? If there's more after, I'm like, fuck yeah. But like, I'm down. Okay, well, why don't we move on then to everyone's favorite game. How long to beat the game? What are we playing this week? Whose turn is it?
I am looking for the thing. What happened?
What, Rick? What's going on? Did I miss something?
I look away from YouTube like 1 second and Rick is saying, what happened there?
It's the fact that we both did the thing too, the music at the same time, and just it's almost like we created the music in our head. We had a little moment, and it tickled me.
I've got
the audience isn't going to have a clue what's going on if this even stays in the edit, which it probably won't. Oh dear!
I've got that theme music just jangling in my brain all the time. It's excellent
Many thanks,
stuff.
Papa June.
Yes, Papa Dune.
Okay, so the game for this week is Neocaf.
I beg your pardon.
Bless you. Like
what did you just call
cafe,
me?
Neocaf.
No, it's Neocaf, like Caf
Neo
as
is
in
in the
taxi.
opposite of old, or Neo is in Neo.
Neo.
Oh, okay. And then calf is in like a baby cow.
No, not calf. It's cap, like CAP.
Oh, new cap. Oh,
New cap. Oh,
Neo,
sorry.
Neo cap. Oh, it's all one word. No, that can't be it.
Are you saying Neo Cab? Like the car?
Yeah.
Okay.
Like the car.
Oh, I heard cap. Right. Okay.
I'm so sorry,
when-
Paula. Yeah, I heard calf. Neo calf.
When I search NeoCap, it takes me the first link on DuckDuckGo. It takes me to an Ohio community alternative program. It's like a young offenders type thing by the looks of things. It's like that definitely isn't the subject.
I know. I was looking up Neo CAF, and I just kept getting Nestle calf, and I was like, "This isn't what I'm looking for." I was like, "This isn't right."
But now that I've got there, I actually do recognize this game.
I know
I've
this
seen
game.
on
Yes,
Steam
I know
before.
this game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We got there in the end.
Sorry,
Oh,
Paula.
all right.
We're like sitting here going, "Wait, what?"
And,
sorry.
I'm going to cheese the shit out of this, and I'm putting
Me
5
too.
hours, 5 hours, 5 hours.
Yeah, I'm almost certain that's what it is.
Yeah. We need to rethink the rules of this game because really, for the short ones, we can fuck it.
I know.
It does not
But-
have proper balancing.
Of course, this is assuming that the games are short ones, right? So.
It is though.
I'm like trying to be at 5 hours.
I just
What should
gonna
be
go
fucking
a
at
little
11
bit
hours
higher.
to 100% now? I'll cry.
Why not? Why don't I do? Because
Oh.
I don't think 100% is any shorter than an hour. I'm pretty sure it takes more than an hour to beat this game. So
I'll make it interesting. I'm going to make mine.
Yeah, I'm gonna
100% 7
say
hours.
6 hours and 30.
yeah, I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna do 5 hours, 5.5 hours, 6.5 hours, just to make it fun.
Just to make a point. Beautiful.
Yeah.
I'm the one with the game. Okay, should I reveal the timestamp?
Yeah, let's
Yes, please.
find it out.
So,
Mhm.
main story, 4 hours. Main plus extras, 5.5 hours. Completion
Nice.
is 10 hours.
Perfect. 555 would have been
There you
fine. Wow, 10 hours though. That's close.
Surprisingly beefy. Yeah.
Which means that we are now at Rick with 71 points, Alex with 69 points, and Paula
nice.
with 60 points. Oh shit! It's still a
We're
close
actual
game.
children.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, everybody, that's it. Thanks for tuning in this week. We'll be back next week with more of your regularly scheduled programming.
Yeah, maybe a little bit less of me. Take it easy.
Doodles.
Bye.
Nice.